So we do know that there is an issue of bird flu pandemic that is very much present and is not going anywhere. But wherever you look, and as Gerald said earlier on, it's terrible, and it's going to get worse. And the denial is amazing. I don't get it. I guess when you see so many ex-millionaires running around now, you just grab any hope you can and clutch it.
I'll tell you what our greatest fear is. If there's to be a bailout, they better bail out. They better do something in this country to deal with the growing underclass in America. I mean, they're whacked out on meth. They have absolutely no future. They have no fear. Hellish situation.
And they have guns. And they're not afraid of going to jail at all.
They don't have any common sense. Their brains are whacked.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to have anything. And it's going to be Mexico City. You're going to see kidnappings, and I mean this with all seriousness.
For ransom,
if they can spend, how much did we give Citigroup already? About $310 billion in guarantees, and climbing. Who knows the number? I mean, if they can't put money into dealing with this group, this whole society of young people that have futureless futures, that have hate levels that we could never imagine, and their minds, as I said, are whacked out on drugs that we never knew existed, you're going to see problems in this country. And one of the things that we really need to do is address this problem in a very intelligent way, which, of course, means government won't be able to have a hand in it.
Yeah, the other problem, Gerald, is, if I might say, and add on and extrapolate just a drop here, not only are they whacked out on drugs, but they're whacked out on the drug of media. This is a media culture. These people don't think anymore. They're programmed to go out and react to stimuli, whatever it may be, a pro sports team, a product, a beverage, it doesn't matter, clothing. They're simply reactive robots. And unfortunately, the intellectual development that most of them possess it's almost zero. They're pushed through schools. They're not forced to learn to read and write. They don't read and write anymore. They text everybody if they do anything at all. And these these little cell phones, these texting devices have predictive text. Gerald, you know this. And in other words, if you type the word there, and most of them couldn't even spell the correct version, T-H-E-I-R or T-H-E-R-E, all you got to do is get the T-H in there, and the cell phone will finish it for you. And the words, they don't have to spell anymore, Gerald.
I know, and so what we're saying, for example, first of all, what's bad for Wall Street is great for Main Street. Wall Street created the conditions, the terrible conditions we have today. So when I hear these pundits saying that we need this or that to get us back to normal, and they call this normal, holy. You know, what normal? They're the ones that killed Main Street by putting these deals together with no money down and the politicians in their pocket. They built these huge malls, office complexes, and it got all the loan guarantees, grants, tax breaks, infrastructure, you name it, they got it, and they sapped the life out of Main Street. Well, now we're seeing all of this fail. I'm mentioning this because with the people that follow during this greatest depression that we're entering into will fail. You have to have Great Depression self-defense to survive. And when you go back to the last depression in the 30s, 21% of this nation was still on the farms. Now there are more people in prison than on the farms.
That's true.
And so what we're saying is that, for example, as you point out, these kids don't know how to think, but they could be taught how to do things with their hands. Even the peasant knew how to mend a fence and plant crops and when to sow and when to harvest. The peasant knew how to do that.
You're so right, but the only problem with that in our society, and it's a huge one, is that that's not cool. And the media tells our young people to be cool.
Well,
dress
again,
right,
this is
to
why
act
it
right.
has to be coming at it from all the different angles.
Yeah.
And by the way, as trend researchers, that's exactly what we do, in the sense that we make connections between different fields. So, for example, as we're going through this economic problem right now, they're only addressing it in economic terms.
Correct.
So it has to, and you hit it on the mark with the culture. I mean, my God, they're going to look back in history and say, oh yeah, what they did was they elevated the lowest common denominator, the criminals, the gangsters, they wouldn't give them belts nor shoelaces because they were so violent they would kill people with them, and they made a fashion statement out of it and created a whole pop culture from it. So I mean, of course, so that all of that has to be reversed if we're going to move into a productive future.
If we are, and that's a big if right now. The idea of returning to the way things were, of course, is perhaps the biggest lie of all. That's not going to happen. We're going to slide into a break here. Trends Research Institute, Gerald Celente's invaluable resource for trying to survive in an incredibly depressed economy. This is the Greatest Depression. Go there, take a look, and in the upper right corner of the homepage there, you'll find an excellent YouTube video with Gerald, who is, again, he in a way is our man, and all of us really care about reality. Gerald is the only man at the highest level of the media game here who is speaking the God's truth. He is a true visionary, and without Gerald up there talking, I don't know where we'd be. Well, I do know where we'd be. We'd be worse than what we are now. We've got hope with knowledge. Remember, wisdom and knowledge are the most important currencies in all of these bailouts for all of us, folks. We'll be right back in just a minute. Back with Gerald Celente, the world's #1 trends forecaster, Trends Research Institute, trendsresearch.com. If you're not online, if you are, just go to the guests section at rense.com and take a ride to Gerald's brilliant site, and do subscribe to his newsletter. It's the map, it's the roadmap we need, all of us. And I don't know anyone who's doing anything even close to what Gerald is doing or has been doing for quite some time. All right.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff. I also want to mention, that we know people are going through difficult times. So we have something on our order form that if you're financially distressed, unemployed, disabled, a student, whatever, if you're having any kind of difficulties, we'll do our very best to get you the Trends Journal at a price that they could afford.
Well, you're amazing. You're a real human being in a world that is populated with an awful lot of folks who I would certainly call human.
Well, there are a lot of good people out there, yourself and your listeners, and there are a lot of people that care very deeply about this country.
Oh, they do.
And to coin a phrase, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country.
Indeed. I hope we can get access to the reins of power and make the changes we need to try to preserve what's left of this country and maybe, over time, put it back on the path it once was. After gigantic profits, need I tell you, folks, Big Oil made an obscenity of itself once again and is asking for tax breaks. I mean, these people, they know no shame. They literally do not. The United Kingdom, the UK, the oil industry there has asked the government in the UK for tax breaks to prevent a slowdown in drilling in the North Sea. It goes on and on. These headlines. And if you look at Rense.com under the financial catastrophe, the world financial crisis featured story box, I've got news going up around the clock. I'm on this all day, every day, month in and month out, 7 days a week. You'll see the story. It's all right there. You can read the headlines and get an idea. But I go back to that other thing that made it quite clear that the European Union, or the Eurozone, is now saying it needs $35 trillion to get out of this current crisis.